What's going on, y'all? Christopher Miller, aka CGM the Master, here for Commissioner's Call, my new show. Man, I'm very grateful and blessed to be in this position, man. I thank all of y'all for watching. Thank all of y'all for tuning in. Go ahead and like, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Um, this episode is very special to me because it's the first type of video that I've done since my brother's passed. My brother's right here in front of us. Um, RIP to Marco. Long live Marco. Um, and with all of that said, let's go ahead and get into the show. The first thing that I want to talk about is that the NBA is looking into expanding into two markets very heavily. And in those two markets, the two markets that we're talking about are Seattle and Las Vegas. I believe that this is a good move. Why? Because there are currently two teams in the Western Conference that I believe should be in the Eastern Conference. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I also believe that Seattle has been a really good market. And with Seattle being a good market, it was able to bring in a lot of people even when the team wasn't successful. I think that that's something that the NBA needs again. I believe that they have everything in place to do that. So Seattle is definitely a market that's out there. But if they add a team, they have to add two teams, which the other team should be Las Vegas. Las Vegas has been doing a lot of things as far as in the sports community. I think that with all of the venues that they have there, that they should be able to work something out with the NBA, and that would be a good market to go ahead and promote as well. You have several players that say that it would be cool to have a team out in Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas is Las Vegas, so Sin City is kind of in a lot of trouble, but you sometimes you got to take the risk of being in trouble to go ahead and be at the reward of having another successful franchise in the NBA and doing big things. And I believe that that would be a good city to have a location for a basketball team. Now, the relocation of the two teams that I was talking about earlier in the Western Conference is pretty simple, man. The New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies. They're both geographically located on the eastern side of the country, and I believe that it would add two legitimate teams that could make some noise out there in the Eastern Conference, shake a little bit of the things up. And you'll get a couple of stars that could show out, for the Eastern Conference, and Ja Morant and Brandon Ingram. And I just think that it would just be an amazing move, because both of those teams have to travel to the West Coast, which are pretty lengthy travels when you think about it, considering the fact that, a trip from Memphis to Los Angeles is not a short trip. It's about at least a 5-hour flight. So it's just one of them things to where, I think that it would benefit all parties that if you move New Orleans and Memphis to the Eastern Conference, and you have the two expansion teams in Seattle and Las Vegas, everything will work out just perfectly. Everything will work out just fine. But we'll see. We'll see. That's up to the NBA to decide. I look forward to seeing if they actually do make those changes and they do bring on a couple of more teams. Where would they be located? Because I'm pretty sure they have some other locations that they might try and tap into. Don't be surprised if New Mexico is one of them. Just to have more of one of those. But New Mexico is kind of really slow. It's not a lot of population there, so New Mexico might not make it. But there's a lot of options that I guess would be possible if you really think about it. But I think those will be the two best locations. Um, there's also a topic that I wanted to talk about, and it is the NBA playoffs. I do believe that the NBA playoffs should be reformatted. Um, the first round doesn't really get fans excited. Um, and quite honestly, I don't really think a lot of people tune into it. So, if the NBA were to change their format from a 7-7-7-7 series format to a 1-3-5-7 format, I believe now you get fans to be more interested, you get fans to be more attentive, alert to the series that is going on, and then you say the 7 game series, the big series for last. I know it will be in a similar pattern to baseball, but baseball doesn't have the one or done. That's where basketball will come in, with the first round being a one and done situation. You have to win that game. That puts pressure on every single team that made it to the playoffs, and no team gets to rest, because if you do, you're eliminated. Um, I believe that going to the 3 game format in the second round will make things more interesting too. The first team that gets to 2 games gets to the championship series. I believe that will also speed up a lot of these series that end up going, let's just say 5-6 games, where the other team kind of, goes a little into comfortable mode, and you already know that's the better team. You know that they're going to win the series, but they let a game or two slip. With you shortening each series, it makes each series now much more important to get to that last step. And I think that if you do that, you could possibly see an uptick in ratings. So that's just an idea that I wanted to throw out there, reformatting the NBA playoffs. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Man, you're taking away games, man." And I know I'm taking away games, but you want to get fans excited about watching the games, and not, oh yeah, well, we know it's game 4 and the other team is up 3-0. They're probably going to lose this game. You already know that just off a gentleman's sweep or all of that stuff. It's done quite often in the NBA, and you want to kind of try and spice a little bit of things up. I do not agree with the in-season tournament, though. The in-season tournament is kind of weak. If I were them, I would use those incentives to make the NBA All-Star game more competitive. That could be your that should be like your little tournament thing, like putting up incentives for the 3-point contest and the slam dunk contest, and then that way everybody's wanting to put on a good show. Why? Because if you got $1 million on the dunk contest, all of a sudden everybody's gonna come with all kind of tricks up their sleeve. It also puts another element of pressure on them to do well, and then also now you have superstars that might want to get into it, because you're gonna want to not get an extra $1 million to throw down 6-7 dunks, or maybe 8 to 10. I don't know. I'm not really counting how many dunks go down per round right now in my head. But if you put those incentives in there instead of the tournament, I think that you could actually brighten up the NBA All-Star Weekend, which I think that you should turn into a week. You know, have an event every single day. Whether or not a week, because a week is kind of stretching it, but you know, like a 4 or 5 day thing where you start on Thursday and then you end on Sunday. Where you do the skills competition on Thursday, you do the 3-point competition on Friday, you do you know, the USA versus World game and the dunk contest on Saturday. Boom, you know. But it's just my idea. That's just how I think of things and how I would like to make things go. Next thing that I wanted to talk. What's going on, y'all? Commissioner's Call Part 2. I had some camera issues, so it's 2 different recorded segments. You know, one was recorded when the NBA season first started, which was the general conversations, which actually still stand to this day. You know, I got into those, and now we about to get into the top 5 MVP candidates, the top 5 teams, and the top 5 players that can be traded as of right now. Let's get into these top 5 MVPs because I feel like this is very, very important. Luka is having a great, great season, but he's still one of the worst defenders in the league. Even though his steals per game have went up, he's shown a lot more effort on the defensive end. That's the reason why he's at number 2. Number 1, I have Giannis, because Giannis has dipped considerably offensively, but you know that he's going to be somewhere in between 28 and 30 points before the end of the season. Everyone should know that. And Giannis is still the defender that he's always been. And for that alone, that puts him in a whole nother tier by himself. Now, can Joel Embiid get up there? It's very, very possible, but he's going to have to continue the stretch that he's continuing. And it's crazy because Giannis and Joel play against each other today. Giannis and Joel play against each other today, and that should be a dynamic matchup. I can't wait to see it. But number 2 is Luka Doncic. He's having an amazing season. He's proven me wrong in a lot of categories, except for defensively. Defensively, he's still a liability, and it's going to take some time for him to become the defender that he needs to be to make sure that the Mavericks are a serious contender, not only in the West, but for a championship. Number 3, Jason Tatum. It's crazy how my list was a month ago compared to what it is now, but Jason Tatum is definitely on that list. He has the Celtics with the best record in the league. You know, he's gotten Jaylen Brown the recognition that he deserves, that will make Jaylen Brown feel like he's a primetime player. And it's just one of those things to where it's like, okay, like, you've shown me now over not only a couple of years, but now going into the 3rd year that you're legit. You're a legit superstar that deserves this type of attention, for lack of better words. So yeah, that's just how that goes. Jason Tatum, number 3. Number 4, Ja Morant. Ja Morant, honestly, he does things in the air that I haven't even seen any player do, including Michael Jordan. This guy is special. His leadership is special. The only thing that gets me with Ja is that sometimes he gets a little too full of himself. and starts thinking that he can do more than what he can do. He hasn't become the playmaker that I would have expected him to become at this point. But everything else is just stellar. He's worked on his defense. Same thing that Lucas should do. Work on your defense. Get your defense right. And then, make those strides to become not only a good offensive player, but to become a good defensive player, and possibly being the second best player in the NBA, or just elevating your status. Ja has definitely done that to the point to where now I don't see him as being anything other than an MVP candidate from this point on. And then number 5. Who could have been having consideration at number 2, 3, 4. Like, all of these positions are interchangeable. But Joel Embiid is number 5 because the last 2 games have put the league on notice. He's showing you the skill that everyone believed that he had. Or has, or however you want to say it. But his skill is remarkable. He could very well be the best player in the league if he wanted to. But it's just a matter of how much does Joel Embiid want to be the best player in the league. That's where I'm going to leave that. Top 5 players, once again, Giannis number 1, Luka number 2, Jason Tatum number 3, Ja Morant number 4, Joel Embiid number 5. Let's get into these top 5 teams, man. I know the Boston Celtics, and this goes against my logic, because I always say the best team is the team with the best record. But in this case, they haven't played as many games as the Celtics, so I still have the Milwaukee Bucks number 1 just because they're doing, like, the Milwaukee Bucks are surviving without Chris Middleton for the whole season so far, and Jrue Holiday for a good 4 or 5 games. This is getting insane. Once they get healthy, there's no team in the league that's going to stop them. Period. Once they get Chris Middleton back and Jrue Holiday, man, y'all might as well just wrap that. Go ahead and wrap it up. Christmas gifts, giving out early. Nigga, give the Milwaukee Bucks they damn championship rings already. I'm sorry. I don't see it being any different. I may be wrong, but it just is what it is. These niggas are far from healthy, and they're still the second best team in the league, and that's only because they have not played as many games as the Celtics. Number 2 are the Boston Celtics. They've played 14 games. They stand at 11-3. It was shaky in the beginning, but then it started picking up some speed. And you started seeing the Boston Celtics of last year rather than the Boston Celtics of 5 years ago. They've gotten out of the centering the team around Jason Tatum and having Jason Tatum preference his skill around the talent that's around him, which is very, very huge because, see, they were doing that with Paul Pierce in his earlier years, basing the team around him instead of taking Paul Pierce and basing his skills around the talent that was there with him. I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, I really like what I see from Boston. I still think that they're way too short. They can't do nothing with the Bucks. The Bucks are going to get them off the court, especially when it matters. The Celtics may win the regular season matchup, but that don't mean nothing. Not when they come into the playoffs. When you come into the playoffs, it's an even record. And I just don't see, if the Bucks are 100% healthy, I don't see any team being able to beat them because they don't have the interior to deal with the Milwaukee Bucks when shots aren't falling. So that's just what it is. The number 3 team, the Phoenix Suns. They don't have the best record in the West, but once again, it's one of those situations to where you're going to have to prove it to me. And the team that's the number one team in the West has yet to prove anything. So I'm going with the team that is solidified at this point in their stature. I think that with them only being a game behind the Portland Trail Blazers, they are the best team in the West until a little bit more starts to unfold. The number 4 team, the Denver Nuggets. Once again, I'm going off of past history rather than current situation. The current situation is that the Portland Trail Blazers are the best team in the West. But they're only 10-6. And it leaves me a lot to ponder on why would I propel them as the best team in the West without seeing more from the teams that are right on their heels, that have been there before. So I don't want to say Portland is number 1 and then all of a sudden 2 days later they're not the number 1 team in the West. It's the Phoenix Suns, and then number 2 is Denver. It can change up that easily within the next couple of days. But I do have Denver number 4. I do believe that they will get their groove back, especially Jamal Murray. He'll get things going. He'll get things shaking. And the Denver Nuggets will be right back in position. The number 5 team, of course, are the Portland Trail Blazers. They are surprising a lot of people, but this is all that I can say to keep this in context. They're only a 4-game losing streak away from being a 500 team. That just goes to show you where the West stands right now. You have a bunch of teams that are just barely over 500, and then you got a bunch of teams that are just trash, including my Lakers. I don't care. I'm standing up. I'm repping all day. It is what it is. LeBron James, go back to number 23. I'm sorry. The 6 shit ain't working. The 6 shit is not working. Put that shit to bed, dog. Put it to bed. I don't even want to see this number 6 shit no more. Adam Silver needs to make a rule where niggas can change their number in the middle of the season, because this nigga's not it. But here nor there, let's get back to the motherfucking topic at hand. But the Portland Trail Blazers are my number 5 team. They're doing very well. I just don't believe in Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant. I just don't believe in it. I don't have a lot of confidence and faith that they will continue to be over 500. I do believe that they will be a playoff team, but I don't believe that they will be in the top 4 seeds once it's all said and done. Now, let's get to these top players in the trade rumors. Y'all ready for this? Now, this one we're going to go from the bottom up to the top. Number 5, Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is having a decent season, but he's not having a season that's going to propel the Hornets to being into the playoff picture, which in turn for me means that you're going to have to make a deal. There's going to have to be a deal made. Why? Because the Hornets have to find a way to win without LaMelo Ball. Why? Because it's just as simple. You're going to have to build a team worthy of dealing with the teams that are coming up now that are young. They don't have that right now. They have a lot of older pieces. And with these older pieces, they're not bad, but they're not good enough for you to win on a consistent basis. Terry Rozier is a highly sought-after player who can help some teams contend or get into the contention picture. Let's get back to topic. The number 4 player is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is still on the trading block for me, but that's only because I feel like he still wants to be a starter. I feel like he still wants to be a star. And the only reason why he's doing this is to show teams like, look, trading for me is not a liability. I can still go out here and ball. I can still go out here, put up my numbers, and hopefully help another team get to that prominent spot. I don't think that it's going to happen, though, because teams are fixated on trying to rip the Lakers off. And if I'm Rob Pelinka, I stand pat and I stand with him. I do not see a reason to give up 2 draft picks while I'm still giving up a star/all-star quality player. I don't like the idea of them trading Russell Westbrook, but with there being so many trade rumors that still exist, I will put his name in there at number 4. Number 3, Buddy Hield. I do believe he's on his way out of Indiana. The tweets with Rob Pelinka coming into Indiana saying, hey, yo, with the eye emojis, with his kind of lackluster start to the season, he probably just needs a new home, man. We gonna see how that works out, but I wouldn't be surprised if Buddy Hield is gone and someone else that's on his team that's still on this list will be gone as well. You can't just, that's so publicly being vocal without saying anything to where Indiana's not good enough at this point to be trying to hold on to players purposely. So instead of fucking up the team chemistry, instead of putting Tyrese Halliburton in the position that he needs to be to become a superstar, you're playing around with players that don't want to be there. And it's fucking up your chemistry. If I'm the Indiana Pacers owner, I would have probably sat down with my GM and been like, look, I don't give a fuck what the fuck you're doing. These guys have to go. We have a chance at making the playoffs here. This isn't something to take lightly. Why? Because the Indiana Pacers never have this position. And then you still might be able to get a draft pick to higher your chances of getting a Victor or a Scoot. But you have to pull the trigger now. Why? Because these players are not going to continue to perform up to expectations of being players that should be drafted or that should be traded for. Number 2, this player has gotten unbelievably hot in the trade rumor market. Bradley Beal. I don't know how this is happening. Don't ask me, oh, well, why is he so hot? Because this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of executive people that are within the NBA saying that Bradley Beal is going to be traded. And they're saying that he's going to be traded to my Lakers. I hope not. Because to pull off that kind of trade would mean that you would have to mortgage a whole lot of your future for a player that I don't believe puts you in the championship discussion. We'll see. But Bradley Beal's name has came up a lot within this trade rumor. I hope it's to somebody else. Why? Because I don't think that adding Bradley Beal to LeBron James and AD makes them a championship team. Number 1, that I'm almost for certain that he will get traded, Miles Turner. Miles Turner has been very vocal, and he's been performing pretty well to the point where I think a team will bite and make the move. Honorable mentions are DeAndre Ayton. Don't be surprised if the Mavericks may move on from Christian Wood. There's a lot of players there in this discussion, but those are the 2 honorable mentions that I would put out there. Oh yeah, and John Collins. His role has greatly diminished out there in Atlanta, so I wouldn't be surprised if that trade happens too. But I'm going to catch up with y'all next week, man. We're going to get it in, man. Much love from the heart. Peace.